Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Central Florida Computer Society, the Windows Special Interest Group, or known as the WinSIG. It's Sunday, June 14th, 2020, Flag Day. And we're online with people from all over the country, as well as from CFCS. And I welcome all of you. We got a number of things to cover today, and I want to get started right away, but let's go and look at how you find out what we are going to cover. You go to huey.net. Hopefully this is going to work quickly because I didn't have it set up right away. Then you go to the WinSIG. You go to 2020 because I've got them going back all the way to 2008. And then you find today's date. And I have several items that I have on the agenda. We may not get to all of them, and we may combine a few. I've got a little PowerPoint I put together with a bunch of things on SpaceX and the Starlink. I'm calling it the Starlink report, and I will cover that in just a few minutes. So let's start with some Windows things first, and then we'll go from there. So the best way for me to do this is go to my Evernote, because that's where I put all these Evernotes. And I want to find the one for, quite sure that I did. And we'll.
Huey?
Yes.
I'm getting a message on the screen that said this meeting is being recorded and it's overlaying everything you're doing. Do you want to hit continue and that'll get rid of it?
I think you hit continue and it gets rid of it.
Oh, right. Why would I have that? Oh, well, never mind.
It's a setting. Okay, getting to know Windows from an insider's point of view. I posted it on Huey's Views and Reviews because it's not really posted on the APCUG site, but I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but Bill James and APCUG are conducting a 4-month presentation of getting to know Windows. They've already had 2 of them. The first one was May 13th, and one was this past Wednesday. The next one will be on July 8th. If you go to the page that I have the link, it'll tell you how to connect with them and register, so you'll get the link to go to it. But if you've missed it, what you can do is, let me go back from here, and let's go to, let's see, this takes me to the article. No, this is taking me to the YouTube. Good, that's where I want to go. This is the YouTube. I'm not going to play the YouTube. It's 2 hours and 34 minutes. So not only wouldn't I have anything to say, but we would eat into the rest of the meeting. But what I wanted to do is point out that this is on the APCUG channel, and should be stopped. There we go. But I want to point out a couple of things about YouTube that you may not have noticed. YouTube automatically does closed captioning. And if it's red on the underline, it actually is going to play. And as it plays, now I'm going to turn this on and turn the sound off. And as it plays, you should see, as I'll move it forward here, you'll see that whatever Bill is saying is live and showing. Bob, are you getting those? I'll get it. You can see what he's saying without having to have the sound on if you don't want it, or along with the sound if you have trouble sometimes with somebody. So the closed captioning is there. But the other neat thing about this, it does it automatically as these videos are uploaded to YouTube. YouTube does it automatically. So no one is sitting there typing it. YouTube is actually figuring out what you're saying and adding it to the video. But you can also click the 3 buttons here and see where it says Open Transcript. If you click on that, And this sometimes takes a while, so I apologize if it doesn't show up right away because of all the things going on my computer right now and online. But what we should see is a box open up along here. There it is. And what it's going to do is going to open up what it calls the transcript. But what it is the actual closed captioning with the times of each of the lines in the closed captioning. And you can turn off the time and turn it on, or you can copy it. You can highlight it, copy it, and then paste it into something else, and you'll have the entire script of a video. If it's something you have done or somebody else has done, you've got the information. I know it's unresponsive. This does take a while when it's a 2-hour video, but what it would do is it would bring it up, and you could then grab it. There's several things that you can do with it. I'm not going to wait on it. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. But I did want to show you that that video is out there for, this was the one from May. June's will be posted in the next few days, or in the next short period of time anyway. And so you'll be able to watch the 2 you've missed. And so when you go back for the 3rd one, you'll be able to see it. And then come in after those 4 sessions, they're going to have another group of 4 about using the seniors and home automation. And so that will be 4 1-month, 2-hour sessions as well. So let's go to the next item on my schedule, which is the APCUG notes. And this is where it gives you all of the information about all of that. Okay, so I did list that as well, and it tells you how to get in touch to sign up for those. But here's the ones for the next series, which will start in September. Why do I need it? Where do I start? And so on home automation. So I think you'll find that very interesting as well. Now let's talk about Windows, and I've got a couple of articles that I'm going to quickly go through. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I do have some other items that I do want to show you and talk about. But this is the wait before you install the Windows 10 2004. This is a pretty good article. I am going to do it from my, let's see, right here, because it'll be clearer to you in larger print. But I don't know if any of you have installed and upgraded to the May 2020 version of Windows. I see Bob's got his hand up, and I can't see other people. But if you've already done it and it's working, you're fine. But there were some issues that did affect some people. And this article is pointing out what those items are. So if for some reason they affect you, don't install it. I have installed it, and it's actually been an upgrade since, or an update since then. So I've not had any of the issues, but here are some of the issues. Difficulty connecting to more than one Bluetooth device. Windows 10 devices with certain Realtek drivers might be unable to connect to more than one Bluetooth device. There's errors or issues during and after updating devices with Connextant ISST audio drivers. So if you're using a Connextant card and you're using their drivers, you might want to hesitate and not go to the upgrade till they have a fix for it. And here's another one with that same audio drivers. IME mode property to control IME mode for individual text entry fields. I have no clue what that is for certain languages. If that's something that affects you, then of course don't install the upgrade. Variable refresh rate not working as expected on devices with the Intel iGPU. That's the graphics processor unit. And then a stop error when plugging or unplugging the Thunderbolt dock. If you don't have a Thunderbolt dock, you don't have to worry about it. Errors or unexpected restarts for some devices, always on, always connected, and no mouse input with apps and games using game input redistributable. So certain games may have some issues. Issues updating and starting up devices when aksfridge.sys is present. I have a feeling that might be if you have a smart device connected with your refrigerator. Could be wrong. And then an issue with older drivers for the NVIDIA display adapters, the GPU. If you're using a version below 3.5.8, you may have some issues. So, and this article goes on to explain what those issues are, if it does affect you, and whether or not you should go ahead and install it. Otherwise, you shouldn't have a problem with the upgrade. Make sure you're backed up before you do it. I highly suggest you do that anytime you're going to do any kind of an upgrade to the operating system, but you should be doing it on a regular basis anyway. The next item has to do with the Microsoft PowerToys. You don't know what PowerToys are? Well, let's talk about them for just a few minutes. So again, we're going to come here and we're going to go to PowerToys and here. This is all of Microsoft's. Let me get these out of the way in case they're in your way. All of Microsoft PowerToys for Windows 10 explained. PowerToys are applications that were designed and put together by Microsoft employees. They're not an official part of Windows, but they are from employees of Microsoft, and Microsoft does make them available to those of us who want something a little bit more powerful that can do a few other things, you know, just some utilities and so on. It's open source. It's an open source project. And this, where I got this article, they originally published an article on April 1st, and they've updated it with information about some of the latest PowerToys that have been added. They're part of PowerToys 0.18, which Microsoft released on April 19th. So these are relatively new. Here's how you get the PowerToys. You can download the PowerToys from GitHub, and you enable the features you want from within the PowerToys setting application. It's free and open source. You download the MSI file from the website, double-click it to install it. To access the PowerToys settings after installing and launching the application, you locate the PowerToys icon in the notification area or the system tray on your taskbar. You right-click it and then hit Settings. And it tells you how to update them. I'm not going to go through each and every item here, but what I did want to show you are some of the programs that they have available. The way I saved this in Evernote, I didn't save the pictures or the graphics, but there's a keyboard manager for remapping your keyboard shortcuts. If you don't like the certain keystrokes that Microsoft has, you can actually rename them or change them if they're interfering with another program, for instance, or another program's interfering with them. There's a power rename. It's a bulk file renamer. Again, these are from Microsoft. There's an image resizer. I happen to use a program I bought many years ago. It works the way I like, and so I've been using it. So I haven't used the Microsoft Power Tool. But if you don't have a built-in or have not downloaded and installed some kind of an image resizer, this might be one to look at because it's free. Fancy Zones, a zone-based window manager. A shortcut guide. So these are some a little bit more advanced. This isn't for beginners, but if it's something you want to take a look at, there's a File Explorer preview for SVG and Markdown. So File Explorer has a preview pane which can show previews of images and other file types directly in File Explorer. If you hit the Alt-P in File Explorer to show or hide it, and you select a file, you want to immediately see a preview of it. With the File Explorer preview handlers enabled in PowerToys, Windows will be able to show previews of SVG or scalable vector graphic images and documents formatted in Markdown. So it's just some additional things that you can look at in File Explorer. And then they talk about some other things. So if you're interested in the PowerToys, this is a real good article to take a look at. Okay, so got a few advertising things I want to cover. One is GoFundMe. I have started a GoFundMe, and the link is there. I'm not going to go to the GoFundMe. I am just going to bring up, let's see, I thought I had a picture of it, and I don't. So I shut it off, and now I don't have it. That's great, Huey. Anyway, I started a GoFundMe. I need a new computer, and frankly, I can't afford it. I'm running into problems. I'm getting a blue screen of deaths because I'm doing so much video stuff, and my computer is almost 7 years old. I bought it before I moved over here to Bradenton, and it's got an i3 in it. It's got plenty of memory. It's got plenty of storage space, although I've got it pretty much full. But I just don't have enough. It's just not up to date enough to do a lot of the video stuff, and I do need a new computer. And so I would appreciate anybody who goes to the GoFundMe, anything that you can afford. And if you can't, I understand. But I would like some help in purchasing my new computer. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is in the last couple of months, Ron Brown and I have joined a Tinkering with Tech private community. And we have been learning so much about video and other things dealing with Zoom. And well, let's take a look. I'm going to show you a video, and I'm not going to start it yet. I'm going to introduce it as I get it up here. As soon as it's up here. And I forgot to turn on the sound anyway, so you can't hear it. Let me stop it. Come on. And we'll move it back to the beginning and stop it. Come on. And then I need to turn the sound on. Their computer sound. Now, let me give you a little background on this is the fellow who started this, Michael Daniels, who started Tinkering with Tech. We pay for it every month, but Ron and I watched him develop this video using Camtasia. So we learned a lot of the tricks and tips on how to use Camtasia to create something like this video. The video is 3 minutes and 25 seconds. And Ron, I believe we were on with him for 2.5 hours, and he didn't quite complete it. And so it does take some time to do these kind of things, but I did want to share this 3 minute, 25 second. And also Michael Daniels is going to speak on our show tomorrow, the Talk with Tech, Tech for Seniors. And I'm going to talk about that right after this. So let's take a look first. And I turn the sound off.
About our
hang on one second. Let me start at the beginning. Let me full screen it for you. Come on. There we go.
Hey folks, Michael Daniels here with Tinkering with Tech. Today we're going to talk about our tinkeringwithtech.net public website, but we're going to talk about the private side of it. Check this out. Okay, so let's take a tour of our private community. On the very first page in our home page, you can kind of see we have a weekly schedule of stuff that we do for the week. You can see on the right we have daily tips. On the left, the light bulb. You can click the light bulb or the link there to come in to actually participate in those daily tips. This is an interactive community, so we have member networking. We have a section where you can tell us about yourself and then also show us where you are out on, where's your website? Where are you in Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these places, Twitch, etc. If you have one of these channels or one of these things, we want to learn about each other and go watch each other's shows or events or things that you have going on. As you saw in the beginning, I talked about daily tips. We do a daily tip every day. You can see these daily tips in the community and participate in the daily tips with me or whoever's doing the daily tip. One of the benefits of having the daily tips is you can go search different things. Use Control F, and then I can go to sites, and it automatically takes me down to Google Sites where we talked about and did a daily tip on that specific thing. Very, very useful and helpful to the community if they want to go find out something about a specific thing. We have a discussion group area. In this area, and we're not going to go to that right now, but I just wanted to let you know about that. This is where we communicate and talk to each other and tell each other things and invite people to different things. Then we have all of our past shows. Now, our past shows I'm actually going to go to. This is every show. These are public shows that we do on Wednesday, and we actually have product experts that come on and talk to us. We actually have community members, as you can see right here, that actually come in and do. There's the Geeks on Tour. So this is a section where we just have every single show, and we can have that. That's every YouTube video of every show, and you can see that. We also do workshops. We're doing a workshop right now where I'm teaching how I actually create a Camtasia video, and they're all watching me go through the process in the recording of how I actually set up and do this. That wraps up our private community. Now, on this page that you're on, if you scroll to the very bottom, you'll see little icons like this that says join now or join. Please feel free to join our community and become part of what we do and helping each other. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and check out a couple of these other videos that are on here about stuff that we do in our community. Thank you very much.
It was fascinating watching him build that. And as I said, he's an excellent teacher, and he does these daily tips and workshops. And Ron Brown and I have been amongst the other people that are members of that community, have just, we all get involved. We all help each other. We talk about things that how we do things, and they talk about how they do things. We compare notes and help each other. If you're interested in that, go to his webpage and take a look at this video, and it'll give you the information again. You can just click on the link from my page, and it's Tinkering with Tech, and I think it's $10 a month to be part of the community. As long as you're part of the community, you can take part in every day. He has a daily tip. You join in if you have the time. You sit there while he does it. If not, you can go back and you can watch the recording. The tips sometimes are 5 minutes or 10 minutes. We ask some questions back and forth, and then afterwards we stop the recording and then just talk about other items, or talk more about the particular item is in the tip. The next item that I would like to talk about is the Tech for Seniors. And tomorrow, by the way, Mr. Daniels is going to be our guest speaker. Ron Brown and I are the hosts. Bob G is our security expert. So it's now the Ron and Huey and Bob G show every Monday at noon Eastern. And if you want to see any of the past shows, we started it because everybody was being confined to their homes and quarantined. And we said, well, what an ideal time to do some kind of a show. So we put together the Tech for Seniors. We've now done 11 shows. All 11 are available. This is the link on my website is to the playlist of all 11 of them. They're all just about an hour. Give a minute or two each way. Please take a look at any one of them. They're very interesting. There's lots of good information for you, and it gives you some time to learn something just as you do to any of the other user group events that you go to. But we definitely keep it to a schedule. It's tight. We have some good items that we talk about, and we'd love to have you join. If you're interested in being in attending tomorrow's show, by all means, drop me an email and I will get you the link out by tomorrow. We meet at 11:30 Eastern time. It starts at noon, and about 2 minutes after noon, we lock the doors so you can't get in, so don't be late. And then we run just an hour, and then we're done. And so by all means, please join us or take a look at any of the past shows. Tomorrow will be our 12th edition or episode. I think now I am going to jump ahead of a couple, and I may come back. I put together a little presentation that I would like to do, and let me get it up and about to start here. Probably should have had this up and available. And we'll go to the first slide. And you know, I've been talking about Starlink for a while, and so what I want to do is I want to do this special presentation, and I'm calling it the Starlink Report. What's it called? The Starlink Report. Ah. Okay, I have been talking about Starlink in several discussion groups I've been in. I talk about it here. I've talked about it at Tech for Seniors, and I've talked about it on with some of the groups, and I talked about it when we talk about cutting the cord. And the Starlink is in its initial phase right now. They're going to put it up 1,584 satellites into 72 orbital planes of 22 satellites each. This is an outline of what it is, but let's go in. This is what they're going to look like, or what they do look like. There are already a lot of them up there. This is how they send them up in a satellite. In a liftoff, and there's 62 a batch, so there's 60 of them right there, and then as they release them, they expand with the antennas. So less mass, more compact. Each satellite weighs approximately 260 kilograms. It's about 570 pounds, and features a compact flat panel design that minimizes volume, allowing for a dense launch stack to take full advantage of the launch capabilities of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. The antennas, with 4 powerful phased array antennas on each satellite and an enormous amount of throughput, can be placed and redirected in a short time for an order of magnitude lower cost. The Starlink satellites feature a single solar array, significantly simplifying the system. Solar cells are standardized and easy to integrate into the manufacturing process. The ion propulsion systems, the Starlink satellites are equipped with efficient ion thrusters powered by krypton that enables the satellites to orbit, raise, maneuver in space, and deorbit at the end of their useful life. Starlink is the first krypton-propelled spacecraft ever flown. There's a star tracker, custom built-in house navigation sensors tell each satellite its altitude, which helps enable precision placement of the broadband throughput. And an autonomous collision avoidance. Somebody asked a question about this at one of my recent meetings. Starlink satellites utilize inputs from the Department of Defense's debris tracking system to autonomously perform maneuvers to avoid collisions with space debris and other spacecraft. This capability reduces human error, allows allowing for more reliable and approach to collision avoidance. This is the space before launch with the capsule at the top. And this is what it looks like before launch. Here is a list of all of the launches so far. And you'll notice at the bottom, the last two, one of them was yesterday, and the next one scheduled is on June 22nd. Now, there's a lot of information on this, and you can come back to this chart. I also, it's on Wikipedia. But just to summarize, on June 4th, this is just some of the latest liftoffs. June 4th, they put up 60 satellites. One of the satellites, dubbed VisorSat, had a sunshade to reduce the impact on ground-based astronomical observations. In other words, to keep from having a lot of reflection for the telescopes that were trying to look at the stars beyond. On June 13th, they put 58 satellites up there because they needed some more room, because they put 3 Planet Labs, SkySats 16 through 18 Earth observation satellites in place. And that was successful, and that was yesterday. Next week, additionally, 2 satellites, they're going to put 60 satellites up there, plus Black Sky Global 5 and 6, which will fly as rideshare payloads. All of the Starlink sats will be outfitted with the sunshade visor that was tested on a single sat on June 4th, on the June 4th liftoff. So they're going to put those on all of the new satellites that go up on the 22nd. Each of SpaceX's monthly launches of 60 internet beaming Starlink satellites carries 4,000 stripped down Linux computers, SpaceX software engineers have revealed. The constellation has more than 30,000 Linux nodes and more than 6,000 microcontrollers in space right now. SpaceX updated its Starlink website 2 days ago on Friday to allow prospective customers to sign up for news and service availability announcements. This is all there are some pictures. The pictures I showed earlier are on that site, but what you're basically doing is you go in, you put email, your email address, your zip code, so that when it's ready in your area, they'll let you know what country you're in and submit it. You'll get an email saying they got it. And that's all there is. And so you'll be getting some announcements as these things get closer and closer. The company plans to launch a public beta of the satellite internet service by the end of the Northern Hemisphere's summer, and has won approval to deploy 1 million end-user terminals here in the US. I grabbed this from another site. This is not from Starlink. This is from someone who thinks that they know the answers. The estimated launch will be mid-2020, but Elon Musk has twittered that they will go into a beta in the summer, and by November should be ready for a wide public beta, not a wide, but a public beta in the areas that are covered by the satellites that are already up there. And everyone has been asking how much is it going to cost, and there's been nothing on it. Somehow, where I found this slide, they have figured that the estimated cost is probably going to be around $80 a month, which isn't bad because I'm paying $75 right now for my service, and that's 150 up and 150 down using Fios or fiber optics. And the estimated equipment that you're going to have to buy is going to be between $100 and $300. And my understanding, somebody else on one of the podcasts that I was listening to, it's probably going to be a satellite dish about the size of a pizza. SpaceX recently applied to the Federal Communication Commission to launch 30,000 second-generation satellites over and above the 12,000 they've already been approved. Assuming the second generation satellites carry the same number of Linux computers, it would mean SpaceX plans to send at least 2 million Linux computers into space in the next few years. It also means it's now sent 32,000 Linux computers to space for the existing constellation. We designed the system to use end-to-end encryption for our users' data to make breaking into a satellite or gateway less useful to an attacker who wants to intercept communications, wrote Matt Monson, SpaceX's director of satellite software. I put this in because I've had some questions, and how safe is this going to be? Well, obviously, they're trying to make it very safe for us. Every piece of hardware in our system, satellites, gateways, user terminals, is designed to only run software signed by us, by SpaceX, so that even if an attacker breaks in, they won't be able to gain a permanent foothold. SpaceX's Starlink satellite constellation is still deep into testing mode, but it's already generating 5 trillion bytes or 5 terabytes of data on a daily basis and getting software updates on a weekly basis. Not everything has gone right with Starlink software. We've had many instances where a satellite on orbit had a failure we'd never even conceived of before, but was able to keep itself safe long enough for us to debug it, figure out a fix or workaround, and push up a software update, Monson wrote. Monson said SpaceX usually updates the software on all of the satellites about once a week, with a bunch of smaller test deployments happening as well. Again, this has been the Starlink Report. The Starlink Report. Before I go on, let me stop sharing my screen for a moment. And those of you who still have your videos on, and you can unmute yourselves. Anybody have any comments on any of, especially the Starlink stuff?
How fast is it going to be?
They say very fast. It's going to be faster than what we normally get. That was the whole, one of the big ideas of it. Not only is it going to be available for every part of the country, including those areas not covered by broadband, but it's supposed to be gigabit or fast. When I say gigabit, I'm picking that. That's a term I'm using. I've not heard them say it, but it's going to be speeds that we're not used to.
My biggest concern here in Florida is the same concern I had why I got rid of Dish and DirecTV, and that's thunderstorms. I would not want to be doing something when an afternoon thunderstorm rolled around and interfered with my internet connection.
And I'm wondering what they're going to have to help us with that. I'm sure that it's not only in this area, it's going to be in others as well. So that'll be interesting to see, and as it gets closer and they do some more Q&A and give us more information, we might be able to get a better idea how that will be handled.
Right.
Also, why I'm on cable, not on a network going through a satellite, because weather affects satellite a lot more than it would anytime you have cable itself.
And then just think of hurricane season, you know, during a natural disaster, cable will eventually go down because they lose electricity and the amplifiers drop out. But the whole point is, you know, while you're recovering or while you're leading up to it, you get lots of severe thunder showers, and you just don't want to lose your internet connection for as long as possible.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, and it's going to obviously it's going to be something new, and it may not work to everybody's satisfaction, but it gives us another choice, another way of getting internet without going through the cable companies.
Absolutely.
Because I'm using a cable. I don't have cable, but I'm getting my internet through one of the local cable companies, and I've been tempted to switch cable companies, but then to take all their equipment out and put new equipment in, and sometimes it's easier to pay the few extra bucks that I would save with the trial period or the first year at a certain rate, and then they jump it up. But I'm paying $75 a month, and I got 150 up and 150 down, and I'm doing everything through that. I'm doing all my TV is streamed, all of my computer stuff is streamed, either direct wired or Wi-Fi. So I'm kind of anxious to see what it's going to be like. I don't know whether we'll be in the first runs of it. I had heard it probably will be in Northeast U.S. and then across into the Canada border, maybe the first testings. But I would say that as they're putting up a minimum of 60 new satellites a month, in this past month or the month of June, they will have put up 3 sets of 60, or one of them will only be 58. So it's just shy of 2. So they're putting a bunch of them up quickly now, and they claim that it's working, and they're testing and they're tweaking, and so it'll be fun to play with. And don't forget, at the same time, this is Elon Musk's SpaceX. The fellow from Amazon is also doing the same thing.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, and his is called Escape
Sky, I think.
What is it?
In the Blue Sky, or I
No.
know its rocket is Blue Origin.
Yeah, but he's also had the okay to do is something similar, and he's putting up a bunch of satellites. But I don't think he's in the advanced stage that SpaceX is in, where they're actually they've got them up there and they're testing it. So lots of interesting things down the pike, and not that far away when you realize it, because they should beta test this year, and it should be deployed at the latest next year. So it'd be worth something to play around with and try. And most of us are prime candidates to at least test it and play with it.
Go out and buy a Tesla, and you get moved to the head of the list.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments before I continue? Where are we time-wise? So we got about 15 minutes or so. I'll go back to my topics. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. Before I do that, I'm going to mute everybody. Let me just close this. And where'd that go?
We are muted.
There we go. All right, so let me share my screen and see what we got next on my list. Did I close that? Nope, good. Okay, the next couple of, to continue on about SpaceX, I did find a SpaceX Starlink satellite tracker. So if you ever want to look up in the sky and see them, you can do that by going to this website, but it asks for your location with your latitude and longitude. I don't know if that's mine or not. I couldn't tell you. I don't know how do you find out what your latitude and longitude is? Well, you go to Huey's notes, and there's 2 places here: find or enter latitude and longitude, and latitude and longitude finder. So let's click on each of those just to see what they do. One is directions on how to do it. So you can go through that article. And then the other article is, there's an actual finder. You put in a place name, and it, so you can put Let's see. It's going to let me do it. There we go. I don't know if you have to do, you can put a street, I think. You can even go down to that, but let's just say Orlando. It gives me the latitude and longitude. And then you can go into that program and it will give you when you can look up in the sky and see where the SpaceX Starlink satellites are. So that's how you can find your latitude and longitude, because I don't know mine off the top of my head, and I don't know where I could find it quickly. So I found a program that would tell me. So the next few things have to do with security. And one of the articles I found recently is, why do Facebook hoaxes often ask you to copy, paste, and modify rather than to share? So again, let's go back to my Evernote. Did I close it? Oh, nuts. So we'll wait for it to come back up. Oh, it is up. It's behind here. Okay. And click here and click here. And let it load. There we go. Why do Facebook hoaxes often ask you to copy, paste, and modify rather than to share something? I thought this was a good article because I get them all the time in Facebook. Don't share this, copy and paste it. And I always wondered, why? Well, several people have asked me, this is from the article, this is the author of the article, not me, why some Facebook scams and hoaxes, fake news, spurious offers, and so on, specifically tell people not to reshare them, but to rather to copy and paste their contents into new posts. Well, there are at least 4 reasons for this. The first one is hoaxers want to avoid reshares, as reshares let a hoax get killed much easier than do technically independent posts. So if you share someone else's hoax post, then the original poster deletes his or her post, your share disappears as well. Since the hoaxes are prone to being deleted, either by the poster when he or she realizes that the post is a hoax, or by Facebook itself, sharing by copy and paste dramatically reduces the risk of that person behind the hoax that the hoax will be quickly killed off. Remember, a hoax that goes viral with 1 million shares can still be killed with removal of a single post. But a hoax shared with 1 million technically independent posts needs to be deleted 1 million times in order to die. Item 2, copying and pasting makes it harder for Facebook to remove the hoax, especially if personal comments are added. In addition to the matter discussed above in point number 1, copying, pasting, and modifying posts, either by incomplete copying or by adding to, removing from, or editing the post, make it more difficult for Facebook to associate the new posts with the original hoax. Reshares may be hidden by privacy settings, while new posts are likely to be much more broad, have a much more broader audience. And then the 4th item is copying and paste sharing of a hoax post makes detecting the original source of the hoax more complicated. With numerous slightly different versions of a hoax circulating in independent, technically unconnected posts, it's much more difficult to determine from where the hoax originated than if many people share the post from the original poster. Hoaxsters often do not wish to be known as the originators of their hoaxes. If people utilize copying and pasting rather than resharing, they help to preserve the hoaxer's anonymity. So I thought that was a good article and worth passing on to your friends on Facebook who do a lot of that. They will say in the article that they have reposted for you to copy and paste rather than to share it. Another security item that I did want to share with you is this one. loading of PUPs and other demons. If you don't know what PUPs are, they are potential unwanted programs. The story about PUP using malware technology. An introduction. What is a PUP? PUP means potentially unwanted program. They are designated that way, or sometimes not a malware, because they are in theory not harmful for you, just annoying. A few examples: Zeus is a real malware because it steals your bank account number, your passwords, and so on. Lots of PUPs are more involved into ads display, Bitcoin mining, and so on. This is borderline because most of the time people don't know they have them, but it doesn't harm them directly. They're usually installed with bundled software when people don't uncheck the optional options. But sometimes PUPs are using badware techniques to gain access to the web browser and to remain undetected. This is what we will study here with the breaking news Firefox extension. And here was a case study of breaking news from 2015. It looks like the technology is used from INJEKT. They are providing software to inject HTML code into any web browser. This can be seen in the screenshot below, and I don't think I have the screenshot. First, the dropper is detected 18 out of 57 on the virus total. We can see many adware labels or PUP. That program is intended to display breaking news on top of a web browser. I didn't test the feature in detail, as really not the subject here. This fellow is writing this. I'm using Firefox, and I was so surprised not to see any extension installed in Firefox and having that program just working. That breaking news banner, and that was at the top of this article, and I'll go back up to it. That makes it very hard to detect and remove from the web browser. Besides, there's no uninstall entry to remove it from the program manager. And the article was this. Let me bring this up bigger. And then click here for free download, and they want you to click there. But this pops up, and it's not an extension. It's not software. There's no way you can uninstall it, is what they're saying in this article. So let's come back down here to the bottom. And let's see, they show this picture. Can press Control-Alt-Z, whoops, to toggle breaking news on and off. Breaking news will remain in this state until you toggle on and off again. By running Rogue Killer, we can see hooks appearing in Firefox. Just as a reminder, hooks are code modifications made by a program to filter a function or an API. This API is called when we receive data from a socket, an internet connection. We can safely assume that whatever program is hooking that API will filter the internet flow. So it goes on and explains, this gets to be fairly detailed, but what it boils down to is they found ways to get this stuff into your computer without having you install anything. During our test, we were unable to find any persistent items nor uninstall key. The fact of hiding code that way in the browser, splice hooking sensitive APIs instead of just using Firefox API, and not registering any extension nor uninstall entry is intentional. They just want to be sure their application remains as long as possible on the user PC by hardening the detection and removal process. Should we call that PUP still? They clearly have crossed the red line. And I'm going to come out of my screen share for a moment and see if Bob G has anything to say on that. Bob, any comments? You're muted.
One of the things that you need more than just average protection that you're offered in a browser And even those, there is always something new that comes out. And until a way of blocking it is discovered, all of us are susceptible to something brand new. No such thing as 100% protection against everything.
And that's why some antivirus programs will protect you before another one will, but eventually they all will, because once it's detected, the first one on the block gets it into their software, and then the next one does, and then they all do. But when it's something brand new, you're much more susceptible to getting it.
One of the great advantages Avast has with 435 plus million users, usually one of us is going to run into something brand new, and Avast then gets a chance to analyze, come up with something. So bragging rights do help in this business.
Yeah, and Avast does have a browser as well, correct?
It sure does. It's called a secure browser, especially good if you're doing banking and shopping, because it isolates you from the rest of the world.
Okay, we're just about out of time, but let me go back to my screen share again. And let's see, and come back here. And let's see, oh, this last article on anatomy of a hack from Ars Technica, and I'm going to minimize that because I want to find it here. Anatomy of a hack, how crackers ransack passwords like this long one here, by Ars Technica. Crackers have at 16,000 plus hashed passcodes with 90% success. Okay, thanks to the XKCD comic, every password cracking word list in the world probably has correct horse battery staple in it already. In March, readers followed along as somebody by the name of Nate Anderson, Ars deputy editor and self-admitted newbie to password cracking, downloaded a list of more than 16,000 cryptographically hashed passcodes. Within a few hours, he deciphered almost half of them. The moral of the story is, if a reporter with zero training in the ancient art of password cracking can achieve such results, imagine what a more seasoned attacker can do. Imagine no more. We asked 3 cracking experts to attack the same list. Anderson targeted and recount the results in their color and technical detail, Iron Chef style. The results, to say the least, were eye-opening because they show how quickly even long passwords with letters, numbers, and symbols can be discovered. The list contains 16,449 passwords converted into hashes using MD5. This is a little bit more technical than probably we need to mention. Hang on, I want to clear my throat here. Security conscious websites never store passwords in plain text. Instead, they work only with these so-called one-way hashes, which are incapable of being mathematically converted back into the letters, numbers, and symbols originally chosen by the user. In the event of security breach that exposes the password data, an attacker still must painstakingly guess the plain text for each hash. For instance, they must guess that this long number here and this long number here are the MD hashes for password and password 1, respectively. For more details on password hashing, see an earlier article. Okay. While Anderson's 47% success rate is impressive, it's minuscule when compared to what the real crackers can do. As Anderson himself made clear, to prove the point, we gave them the same list and watched them over the shoulders as they tore it to shreds. To put it mildly, they didn't disappoint. Even the least successful cracker of our trio, who used the least amount of hardware, devoted only 1 hour, used a tiny word list, and conducted an interview throughout the process, was able to decipher 62% of the passwords. on our top cracker snagged 90% of them, which scares you, the fact that it doesn't matter how hard you make these passwords, they can get into them. The R's password team included a developer of cracking software, a security consultant, and an anonymous cracker. The most thorough of the three cracks was carried out by a password expert with a consulting group. Using a commodity computer with a single AMD Radeon graphics card, it took him 20 hours to crack 14,734 of the hashes, a 90% success rate. The lead developer behind something else achieved impressive results as well. He unscrambled 13,486 hashes, or 82%, in a little bit more than an hour, using a slightly more powerful machine that contained 2 AMD Radeon graphics cards. A third cracker, who goes by the moniker Radix, deciphered 62% of the hashes using a computer with a single 7970 card, and also about an hour, as he probably would have cracked more had he not been peppered with questions throughout the exercise. So basically, it boils down to make them as difficult as you can, but you're still not, you need to be changing your passwords, and don't use the same passwords every place you use them. And by all means, use a password manager because you want them intricate enough. So a screenshot showing a small sampling of the cracked passwords is up there, and as big as a word list that all three crackers in this article wielded, close to 1 billion strong in the case of 2 of them. None of them contained Coney Island 9, mom of 3G, 3 great kids, or the more than 10,000 other planes that were revealed in just a few hours of effort. So how did they do it? The short answer boils down to 2 variables: the website's unfortunate and irresponsible use of MD5, and the use of non-randomized passwords by the account holders. Non-randomized passwords. Using words, putting words together to make a statement is not non-randomized, or they are non-randomized. They need to be more randomized. They need to be letters that don't make up words, even if there are several words pieced together. These are terrible passwords. There's probably not a complexity requirement for them. The hashing alone, being MD5, tells me that they really don't care about their passwords too much, so it's probably some pre-generated site. So other variables that was the account holder's decision to use memorable words. The characteristics made mom of 3 great kids and Oscar plus Emmy 2 easy to remember are precisely the things that allowed them to be cracked. Their basic components: mom, kids, Oscar, Emmy, and the numbers are a core part of even the basic password cracking lists. The increasing power of hardware and specialized software makes it trivial for crackers to combine these ingredients in literally billions of slightly different permutations. Unless the user takes great care, passwords that are easy to remember are sitting ducks in the hands of crackers. And on that note, escape, come on. I will unshare.
So use a password manager and let it create a random password.
Absolutely. And one of the ones I use, it says, do you want something that at least you can speak it? And so it'll break it up into nonsensible words, but it'll put it in some kind of a syllabic conglomeration that might help you remember it. But it's not something you're going to remember off the top of your head, and they're going to be completely different. But that's what I've been doing lately. And then combinations of numbers and punctuation marks and stuff in there as well. But yeah, and make them long. The longer the better. But don't take groups of words. And I was doing that. I was piecing things together that, how would they know this street name or this city name, or but apparently these crackers can figure that out really quick.
Well, the whole idea of a password manager is that you don't need to remember it. And until the last couple of years, many times the password managers only worked on computers, so people were concerned about their tablet or their phone and being able to remember, this complex password, and they would write it down. And now the major password managers are across all devices. So, you have to remember one password, and that's the password to get into your account. And that too needs to be a complex password, because the crackers are obviously going to.
Yeah, that one has got to be exceptionally long, and and then you got to remember it. And you also need to put it in a sealed envelope in a safe somewhere, so if you die, somebody who has the right to open it can get into your passwords and get into everything that you have.
Yeah.
So that's important as well. I use 2 password managers only because one of them I've been using since I had a Palm Pilot, and it came out with a Microsoft, Windows DOS version. I guess it was Windows, and then it came out with other mobile devices, and so I've been using that for years. But I decided that I wanted to try LastPass, and I was able to export at least the name of the password. And let me clear my throat here first, if I can figure out where the button. And so I got LastPass, and so what I like about both of them is I now have it on my Android phone, my Chromebook, I have it on my iPad, my iOS, I have it on my Windows machine, 2 Windows machines, and when I go out to save it, it saves it to a file that's actually in one of my cloud locations, and that is, so every time I open it from one of those devices, it goes out to the cloud first, and if it can connect, it will update and then open it. If it can't, it will use the last usable version on that device, and when I close it, if it can get back to the cloud shared master, it will add any new ones or any changes. And say, so I can add something on my PC, go out to my Chromebook, open up that password manager, and bingo, it's there.
Many companies are now working on alternate methods of protecting besides just a password. Also,
Right.
it's recommended that you not only depend on the password, but also use 2-factor authentication, which gives you an extra level.
And I'm switching to that on all my financial accounts, and eventually to all
Correct.
accounts.
Correct.
Okay, let me do one more thing. Share my screen.
In fact, I was just going to say, the other day, I got a text, and the text advised me that I think it's called Shop Pass or something like that. Your Shop Pass code needs to be approved. And it was texted to the correct telephone number. And it had the last 4 digits of my credit card, which was correct. And there's no way that I had done anything online for at least the last week. And I called the credit card company and had them change, cancel the card and reissue a new one. But they're out there and they're working on it.
Credit card number anybody can get. It's the PIN. That's what they're
Correct.
fishing for.
Correct.
Okay, so on that note, I hope I didn't step on any of your toes, Bob, and what I covered. We covered a lot of material. This is the end of this month's Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG. It's June 14th, 2020. We'll see you again next month. And I am going to